Hi. It's so awesome to see you. Sorry, now my dog decided to join.
Oh, it's
You guys be good.
I'm totally down here on the couch. So how?
Yeah, I'm really excited to do this with you today. I'm so excited to have this conversation because I think it's really needed. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about emotional trauma and how it relates to, digestive and gut health. But first, I wanted to have you kind of introduce yourself and to tell us a little bit about your health journey and your story.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I always start out by saying it's just an honor and a privilege to be able to share my healing story today. So gosh, just started back in 2006, 2007. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and I basically was told that it was so severe that I would probably have to have my colon removed, and they wouldn't be able to have kids, like all the and then in 2007, I was introduced to a doctor who told me that I need to start here. Meditation,
Okay.
stress. So like back in those times, I'm not really sure that they were saying stress. Nowadays doctors will tell you, okay, reduce your stress. That's something that you will hear in a doctor's office. I have at least. So back then it was kind of like, what? But I took it seriously because I didn't want to have this condition. For those of you who are listening or watching today, ulcerative colitis is basically an inflammatory bowel disease. Your intestine swells up, and then you have on top of that, there's a bunch of ulcers. So it sends a signal to your brain saying, hey, it's full. Let's release. But there's not actually anything in there. So it's just constantly running to the bathroom. Bloody, it's a mess. And so at that age, at 23 years old, I was ready to take on whatever. And that's kind of where the mental health started to come into play, because I had just gotten sober. And so I started doing different things like cognitive behavioral therapy. I found out I had PTSD. And then I learned a little bit more about what addiction is and how it works in the body, because I was kind of like, I don't know about this, guys. Like, this is kind of silly. But after I looked into kind of some quantum physics, and then I learned more about the whole energy and the mind and the gut. And so that's just kind of a brief. And then of course, as I started to clear in my mind and got deeper into meditation and more healing sort of energetically, I guess, I was able to see that I had sugar addiction. I had severe sugar addiction and carb addiction. I sought help for those in recovery rooms. I still am very active in those spaces with that. So that is kind of how I transitioned into more of like an animal-based diet. For me, that's kind of what has helped me heal so just kind of a condensed version there of a little bit about my story. And I'm actually from Kathmandu, Nepal. I was born there. So Kumari when I was born, but we dropped it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Divine female energy, which, I don't know why. I don't know how to change that. Okay, it doesn't matter. There's something here and I don't know how to change. Oh, there we go. Okay. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, I think I might have pushed something funny because it looks all yellow. Okay, whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I can see you. You look great.
Thank you. So, I guess I'll stop there. I think that's a good sign.
Well, let me ask you first, when you had with a doctor tell you that you need to start here, did they kind of give you some any kind of resources or give you any tips of okay, how you can start there? Like maybe you need to go to therapy, or did they suggest meditation? How did that go?
So I don't know how I got so lucky, but I ended up with the doctor. His name was Dr. Trivedi, and he was from South India. And he basically said, here's a book called Perfect Health by Deepak Chopra. I was his youngest patient, and he was like, start with this. And so I kind of started doing the alternate nostril breathing, and then I, played around with different things. But I did read that book, and I found certain parts of the book to be kind of like, all right, but the end of the book where he talks about meditation and the mind and all of that, I was like, okay, cool, I can get behind this. So I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. That totally makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I think for me anyway, I know that I had a lot of issues growing up, with just a lot of anxiety, a lot of like bullying as a child. And then I started to notice just as a teenager that along with that kind of started to come these digestive issues, these skin issues. And of course it's not just that, but it's our environment, and illnesses, bacteria infections and stuff like that that can like kind of add to that. And just kind of weaken our gut.
I have the same exact experience. I started noticing the gut issues once I left home. So I was at University of Maryland for a while. I mean, growing up kind of tough. I too was bullied a lot. I was the only Nepalese, my sister and I, we were the only Nepalese kids in our whole entire school. Like just growing up, I felt kind of out of the norm, right? When we were in Australia, like the only Nepalese people in all of town, like 1980, 4 and all of that. And so then when we moved here, it felt all of the anxiety, all of the, living in America and then coming home to the culture. It was like coming to Nepalese culture was pretty difficult. Um, and my parents are amazing. They definitely just did the best that they could passing things down to us, but it was difficult as a child. And so then the bullying and yes, I actually specifically remember I would go into the bathroom and close the door because I would get this gut wrenching. It wasn't exactly a pain, but it was like this feeling of my solar plexus energy and the anxiety starting to accumulate. Maybe those were the beginning stages of that. And I just
Hmm.
myself in the stomach until it would go away.
Oh my gosh.
I must have been like 6 or 7 years old when I started doing that. I think I stopped doing that probably around 12.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and so you were not just getting trauma to your body from your experiences and your stomach was in knots, but then you were adding some more stress
Mhm.
to that. So,
Right. And then on top of that, I was already full blown into my sugar addiction at that age.
mhm.
So there was a lot of, I actually remember back until like all the way back until 4 years old. My mom was making a Nepalese dish. It was like dessert and it called for condensed milk. And I remember sitting on the counter. I must have been 3. And she gave me a teaspoon of it. And like, it was like the whole world lit up. And
Yeah.
going back and sneaking into the fridge and like eating it. And then
Yeah.
rest from there. So I believe that I was, to me, sugar is definitely like a drug. So I was abusing that on top of it. So you can imagine what that was doing to the biome and, the signals it was sending to my brain. Like it was a messy, messy time.
Oh, I know, and I don't think a lot of people realize that's actually our first addiction is sugar. So like a lot of the time the first thing that we're feeding our children are, um, just pure sugar, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're going to be addicted to that. I remember as a child just being fed, like my mom would make cookies and she would give us all the batter and then that was, then you go to just a full-blown sugar addiction.
Yes.
To deal with that.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your getting sober. What age did you get sober?
I got sober at 23, so March 16, 2007. March 16, 2007. So March 15, 2007 was the last time I had a drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what led you to, I mean, that's so young to, realize,
Yeah.
and I applaud you because that's amazing. Because it took me like a long time.
Oh,
Yeah, it took me like 40 years to become sober, and here you are. You were young, and you kind of saw the light, I think, in a way, and realized that's what you needed to do.
um, it was more like my whole life fell apart. And
Yeah.
was, I abused alcohol. I used it as a escape. It was my ease and comfort. And um, things got really, really bad for me in 2007. I had basically lost everything. And I, it was time. Like I hit my bottom. You talk a lot about hitting a bottom, and
Mhm.
I hit a bottom and I asked for help. And that help led me into recovery rooms and saved my life. So, yeah, I guess me, um, pain was basically the touchstone to the growth there for me. I got into enough, and the pain is where, in of the pain, I was able to see, I'm ready, the desperation to, yeah. So I guess I am one of the lucky ones that did see a little bit of light there and held on to it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know, and when we kind of abuse like sugar and carbs and alcohol and all those things, for me, I learned that in order to quit sugar and carbs, I had to quit the alcohol too. You have to almost rip the bandage off and just quit it all, right?
Yeah, so for me, once the alcohol was down, my meditations and like part of what I was doing um, to just recover from, mental, and then my body and everything was helpful to it. Like it led me to be able to see like right away. I mean, in months, I was like, I don't think what I'm doing is normal. And it was painful. Like it was painful for me to leave a dinner with my friends and get in the car and head over to 7-Eleven and just start filling my car with whatever items I possibly could. And then, I specifically remember this one time where they all pulled up at the gas station and I was like, I had all these bags. It was like, the little time I was living in California, and I had like the cinnamon rolls and all of those honey buns, just like I couldn't help myself. It's on every single corner, and I did this every single night. And then finally, a friend of mine was like, "Yeah, I think you need to seek help." And I did
Oh, wow.
immediately. And I put the sugar and flour down pretty shortly after that. Yeah.
And what kind of help did you get, first of all?
So I went into therapy. Well, that's one of the things. So cognitive behavioral therapy, and I'm a huge
Mhm.
for 12-step programs. I've used those. And that's basically it. I have a network of people that I stay in contact with, and I'm still to this day. It's something that is it's like a daily reprieve, right? Every morning I start with meditation as a reminder too that like not like everybody else when it comes to drugs and alcohol and sugar and flour. And so um yeah, it was easier to stop drinking than it was putting down sugar and flour.
Oh, yes, I agree. I think that's kind of what kept me, because this will be like my fourth time being sober. And
Mhm.
I've been sober for about 2.5 years now. But like, I know for the first time for me, it was I replaced the alcohol. I was like, well, I'm not drinking, so that gives me an excuse
Yeah.
to have the brownie or whatever. I can have the chocolate at night. I can, and I was addicted to chocolate for a long time. That was kind of the last thing that even going carnivore, like I had a hard time letting go, was that chocolate.
You know, I had relapses on the sugar and flour in between like 2009 and 2011. In 2011, it went down and I went back into so low carb and paleo. Like I kind of like, I don't know if they were called paleo or low carb was around back then, but I would just
Mhm.
roll in and out of those until slowly more and more things started to drop. And then as of just recently, I mean, end of August, I was still having stevia and I was still having things like monk fruit. And I realized those two were causing problems for me. I didn't, it
Mhm.
was like an addictive behavior started to develop and I just didn't have the type of freedom that I wanted to have. So those things have been down now. So it's been a really slow transition for me from 2000 and basically 2008, I started problem. I started to seek help. So it's not like boom, everything gets better. It's definitely, at least for me, in my experience, it's a slow progression to change. And then also, like one of the things I learned was just like the mechanics of the brain, right? And how the brain works. And so if I change something about myself, then I would have to every single day take an action and to do that. And so having a network of people that I could be accountable to and all of that, eventually what happens is that nerve that you've had sending that signal and that whatever you're sending down over and over and over, it starts to die off because you're doing the new action, and eventually it's completely gone with the neural cortex, and you're having a completely different experience. It's like all thought and ideas that you have start to slowly cast to one side, and you do regenerate your nerves. What happens? And I mean, I remember looking into this. Back in 2007 when I slowly started to wanting to understand more how this whole meditation thing works. And then I came across a National Geographic movie that just talked all about the way that the brain works and what happens when you have thoughts and how you can actually change. So it's interesting. You literally grow a new,
Oh, wow, that's really interesting.
you have to put a daily practice of sending
Yeah.
down the new one. And that's what's hard. And I just recently learned, so, you know, with all the virtual school and everything last year, I had my kids at home and one of the programs I had my daughter on was like this mathematics, whatever. I was doing homeschool all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
so these little two monsters come on the screen and they're like asking four questions. What happens when you come across a problem? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel happy? Or do you feel anxious? You know, there's like some answers. And my daughter and I looked at each other and we're like, definitely frustrated. And so we choose frustrated, and they go on to say, well, actually, you should be really excited because what's happening is there's two that are trying to connect. And once they connect fully and become friends, then you will know that information. You won't need to go back. It'll be connected, it'll be there. So you literally you're growing a new nerve that
Oh, wow.
because these two little monsters saying, so you want them to make friends. So that means there's two nerves in your brain that are trying to become friends so that you can have this new knowledge in your brain. So that frustration is them for each other, reaching for each other, and eventually they connect, they grasp on, and that it's there.
Oh, wow.
You know it.
Wow, that's so interesting. That makes total sense, though. Because I know when I started just to incorporate, and I always tell my clients too, not to try to do everything at once, to try to kind of layer it, build upon it. So try to incorporate one healthy habit a day. Like it could be just making sure you go to sleep an hour earlier, so you get a little more sleep. And then move up to that. Okay, let's drink some more water, that kind of thing. And so I find that works really well for people. And then once you start doing that, then everything kind of becomes automatic. You don't even think about it,
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Those little changes. It's those, and also like the moment we choose that for ourselves, like the moment we say, I'm ready to change, it's like for me, the floodgates just opened. Because even though there were moments where I felt like, oh my God, this is really hard, or my life is falling apart, I'm doing all of this, I should be getting better. Every single one of those tumultuous situations were exactly what happened to get me to the next thing, to the next thing, to bring joy into my life. And I needed to go through whatever those things were. Now I just look at them like opportunities when like some crazy situation comes up. What am I going to learn here? How is this going to, and how can I be the best that I can be in this situation? But it's the moment we choose to change, I think that our whole attitude and outlook on life starts to change too.
yeah, yes, I agree. Yeah, because I think for me and a lot of other people, like just when you start to see a situation differently,
Mm-hmm.
like even this past like year and a half, I had done a lot of inner growth already. So whenever this, started happening, I was just thinking, okay, what are we supposed to learn from all of this? How are we supposed to be growing? Because we can't really ignore what's happening around us, but we can kind of make the best of it. Like, okay, well, my car didn't start today, but hey, maybe I'm meant to stay home and I'm meant to do something, better with my day. It's an inconvenience sometimes, but I just learned to look at things differently.
Yeah, perspective. Our perspectives. I mean, I tell my kids all the time, like, mommy can't come inside your head and change what's going on in there for you. So have your feelings, do what you need to do, and then let's start changing our thoughts to something more positive. Think about something that you want to do next. Or, but perspective is definitely everything. And um, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go a little bit into more how you changed your diet.
Mhm.
What kind of led you to go, into like a keto carnivore type of, primal diet? And how do you think that's helped you deal with, like maybe repair your brain or deal with some, um, you know, stressors in your life?
Definitely. In 2017, I had my son, and so I was now a mom of a 2-year-old, well, barely two, and I had an infant. My husband was working crazy hours, insane. It was an insane time, and I felt everything, and I couldn't. I had postpartum, and my PTSD got so out of hand that I called the doctor and I actually went to go get checked out for like postpartum or whatever was going on with me. One thing I learned is to ask for help. I asked for help. Um, Definitely that's something I do. So I went and they didn't put me on any meds or anything, but I ended up with a letter called Grain Brain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like he talked about ketogenic diet. He talked about the brain health. It was like, I just ate that book. Like it was so fast. Like nurse my son and I would like look forward to just nursing him so I could read this book because that was my time that I could be alone. And so from then, I was still nursing. So I wanted to add in intermittent fasting and things. So I kind of waited till my son weaned off, but I was already low carb already, kind of. So I just sort of started to eat more ketogenically based on what he said in this book. And so I was basically doing keto. And then
Mm-hmm.
unweaned, I started intermittent fasting. But I'll tell you this, the moment I started adding more fat, I started to feel better. At the same time, though, as I'm doing ketogenic diet, I started cognitive behavioral therapy. And
Oh,
life changed because my brain, I think, was more weak with the fat. I was able to actually take these actions that the therapist was telling me to do and apply them into my life. And then I think about 6 months or so, the panic attacks that I was having, when I say I was having panic attacks, I was literally like, I would go into the closet because I thought that the trauma or whatever was going to happen again, that it was coming, that it was happening. And I ended up on the phone with like 3 different women. This is so crazy. I was on the phone with 3 different women that I couldn't get a hold of. One of my friends, she's like, oh, you should call this person. You know, I'm panicking. And each one of them were like, so I just wanted to let you know, this was like within 2 days. I'm a therapist and it sounds like you have PTSD. And so this is into the cognitive behavioral therapy. They're like, you should check this out. And so it was like I've been like guided like through asking for help, constantly asking for help. The right people just, you know, here I am in a tumultuous, crazy situation, but I'm asking for help, choosing, you know, trying to have a new perspective. And they're like, so I ended up in the cognitive behavioral therapy, but at PTSD within like 6 months was gone. No more, like no more.
wow.
I had bouts like here and there, depending on, so then I started getting into keto treats, right? Like I was eating the almond breads, this, and those started to become a problem. So I did start to notice there was a correlation between, for me, between certain foods in the keto world that did aggravate me. So then I went into carnivore, like, and this was just a smooth, natural transition of me listening to myself, you know, meditation. I say that like prayer is like you're talking to your higher power, and meditation is like you're receiving the you know, answers. You're hearing that divine, you know, from within what you need. And so I was just able to hear myself better, and I was able to transition and be honest with people about what was going on with me. And so yeah, then I ended up ketovore, and then January 2021, I was like, you know what? I just like ended up carnivore. Like I don't even, it's not made a decision to do it, but I had been following, you know, all the big carnivore sites of Callie Hope, watching all the time from behind my private, you know, page. And now I have no anxiety. That doesn't mean I don't get emotional disturbance because I am human. I'm not this like person that doesn't walk around and doesn't cry and I'm zen all the time. Absolutely not. The thing is
Mm-hmm.
that my emotional disturbance today, it doesn't take me down that road that I went to before. I am able to access my tools and access my brain in a way that allows me to just function better as a human being. I think because I'm eating nutrient dense foods, I've also sought out professional help for, you know, I have a trainer now, and then I also have a dietary consultant who we're doing lab work, we're doing all of these different things. And it's the proof is in the pudding at this point. Like I don't have colitis, and I have completely reversed my condition to the point that where these labs were showing that I didn't even have colitis. Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it doesn't
That,
show that I have it. And my colonoscopy come back absolutely pristine. And I think because my gut has healed, my brain is like I'm doing both. You see,
yeah, I was gonna say it's like a combination.
yeah, it's like the whole holistic approach for me, mind, body, and then we, you know, physical, you know, we're taking care of the physical, the mind, and then energetically. So emotions are simply E standing for energy, motion standing for motion. That's just energy and motion. So
Oh, yeah.
if we learn how to access and use our brains, and we're having nutrient dense foods and our guts healed, then it's just not this ping pong of, oh, I'm up, I'm going to mess up. It's correlated 100. I mean, I'm living proof of the correlation.
Yeah. And that kind of leads, yeah, like your story is a lot like mine, where I progressed. You know, I had a lot of digestive issues that were, you know, I was diagnosed with IBS, but then, you know, it kind of developed into I couldn't eat anything basically
Yeah.
without having issues. And then it kind of led into just eliminating this food, eliminating that food, till to where I was just down to lettuce and meat.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I can relate to that. And, you know, I still to this day, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna add back, you know, cooked squash or something. But like I feel
Yeah.
good. I like there's still that like, oh yeah, you're gonna do that. And then I just don't. Like every day comes along and I'm just like, I feel too good to even deal with that right now. But the most amazing
Yeah.
thing is as of recently, I've sort of come out into like my neighborhood about like what I'm actually doing. Like my mommy.
Oh yeah, I think I saw you post about that.
Like, oh my gosh. And people that have digestive issues, we're at like a birthday party, a graduation party, and they're like, I don't even know how they know. Because none of these people know about this Instagram page. Like, no, these are all like hashtags, and you know, I found you.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they're asking me about this meat stuff, and one of my neighbors was literally like, I'm gonna tell my husband to just eat meat. And
Well, yeah, you know, the more you talk to people about it, it's so funny because so many people can relate. So many people have digestive issues. I mean, it's really our, you know, our food supply and all this damage that's been done to our gut.
yeah.
People can relate.
Yeah, so I mean, and then I think once my gut started to heal, you know, from just like, I think the healing started to begin, definitely the healing started in 2007. And then diving into meditation and mental health and all of that really started to sort of transition bacteria. I mean, I really believe at this point now with the whole microbiome and the gut brain connection. And
Yeah.
it was more, I know some people it's like they change their diet and then they have the brain sort of follows. For me it was
Mhm.
I started, and there are actions, like I take actions and then like actions, and then your brain sort of follows, right, going back to like the whole nerve and the cerebral cortex and sending messages down a different place. So um yeah, I just went blank.
Well, yeah, and that kind of leads me to like, you know, let's talk about the emotional trauma
Mm-hmm.
connection
Mm-hmm.
um, between the emotional trauma and the gut, because I know, you know, there's a lot of people with IBS, like 50% of people that have suffered with IBS, um, are it's linked to childhood trauma. They can link it to childhood trauma and then just any emotional trauma throughout your life.
Yeah.
And that's pretty strong, right?
Yes. I mean, 100%. I know for me, I carry my stress there. And um, so I've had some traumatic events in my life. I'm not going to go into detail on those things, but um, I definitely can remember as a child all of the sensation being in my, like, right in the pit of my stomach. And
Mhm.
I believe that what I've done, you know, as a result of like the holistic approach that I'm kind of ended up doing, um, is that I released a lot of that trauma out of that place and filled it with self-love and what I think is the most powerful energy in the world, which is just love, and surrounding myself with people that can um, that are aligning me to that. I think that, again, if we go back to just the basic definition of emotion being energy in motion, if we are moving that energy, that emotion, we learn how to move it out, then I think we can clear our system of it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Because, you know, I think, and I could feel it in my, when I started to get more connected with my body and doing meditation. And another powerful thing I do is breath work. Um, and to me, the breath work was even more powerful in a way than the meditation,
Yes.
because I was able to move it, some of that energy, and I was crying my eyes out in the beginning, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, let's what would you say are ways that people could start to implement some modalities, you know, because I think for a lot of people it might be a little daunting at first to do meditation. I know that's like one of the number one, you know, things that I recommend to people, but then most people are like, well, I don't have time, or I don't know how, or I can't quiet my mind.
Yeah.
So how can a beginner start?
So for me, I was one of those people. So it has to be something doable and it has to be something easy. Meditation doesn't have to be this like I'm gonna go sit on Mount Kailash and meditate for like 5 days or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what people this is what people say to me, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, so you can, it's as simple as waking up. One of the first places you can start is the moment you become aware when you wake up. Fill your brain in that moment, like with the present moment. My body, I'm in my bed, take some breaths, put your hand on your chest, take some breath. I actually have a whole YouTube video on this. It's just a wake up meditation, I call it. I made it up. It works.
I saw it. It's really good.
So you up, you breathe, and then I mean today we had it's Monday morning, it's crazy here. This is the one I did this morning actually.
Oh, okay.
I woke up, I took a few deep breaths, I'm in my body. I kind of like, okay, well my son has now moved into, so he's in there, we're here, we're in this room, and then I just list off simple things, seconds. I'm so grateful for this bed. I'm so grateful for this, house, this roof. I literally use the word roof. And then when I woke up, I just thank you with each footstep on the way to the kitchen where I'm going to go get my coffee or go to the bathroom. I just say thank you with each thank you, thank you, thank you. When we bring gratitude into our life, I believe, in my experience, it shifts everything. Scientifically, too, they have done actual tests where bringing if you're changing your frequency, your energy by just bringing in gratitude into your brain in the morning, a simple meditation is that lasts 2 minutes. 2 minutes, just do it for 2 minutes, walk around, do whatever, get your coffee, thank you, thank you. 2 mile radius around you is affected. 2 mile radius. That's one thing, that's an easy one you can do. Just, or when you get up, try just 30 seconds. 30 seconds of breathing. There's the alternate nostril breathing. Sit up,
Mhm.
do the which I also have a YouTube video on, the alternate nostril. That's one of my other favorite ones. I think that one it clears, helps me clear emotions, and just it's so good. I love that one.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first ones I did a couple years ago, the alternate nostril.
Works so.
Um, and it's like it does something to your diaphragm when you're doing that too.
Yeah, just for me, I immediately feel a clarification going on. Like
Mhm.
so, but I think the easiest place to start is that. Another thing that I do too, just to get present in my body, meditation is simply getting out of here and getting into here, back into our life, right? Because all that exists is now, right? So here we leave home, we leave our bodies, we leave. We're just not present. And if you want anything to happen in your life, we got to be present to do it, right? When you're working, you're present, and you're in front of your computer, you're working, present. So I have touch points for my body. One of them is on my thigh if I'm sitting down and I'm having like an emotional disturbance that takes me out of my body, or usually that's really what's going to take me out into an obsessive thought. I'll rub my thigh and I'll Just something gentle as shh, 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 shh. Come back. We're okay. Everything's okay. You're okay. Um,
Yeah.
I'm standing up. I have a tattoo right here. It's an Om tattoo. I will, and I'm like talking to people, and if there's something that maybe happened that, I'll just bring myself by just touching my wrist to bring myself back. So those are like easy sort of come back to the present moment. But it's for meditation, the gratitude one, and then I set my timer for 3 minutes in the morning. I have a piece of music that I love. I put in my headphones. I read one daily reflections, and by 5 minutes, I'm out of there. And
Wow.
what that has done for me, 3 minutes a day. That's it. I've been doing that now for almost 7 years. 3 minutes a day because I can't with my kids.
Yeah.
When they go to school, though, sometimes I will do longer. But if I really set my intention for the day, that 3 minutes is huge for me. But I tell people to start with 30 seconds. But what that does for me, when I meditate, it's not like going off and I have a blank space in my mind. It's thoughts are bombarding me left and right. It's like I'm going off into the side. I got to go to the grocery store. I got to take this. I got the lawn guys are coming. I have this, the house, we got stuff going on in the house. And it's just like, there it is, come back. There it is, come back. There's the thought, come back. The moment I realize I'm in the thought, come back. And what that does for me, it's the most more important practice of my life, because in my life, when obsession hits or I leave, I can come back. Oh, you left. Come back. It gives me pause. It gives me that moment where I just pause and I can make the switch. 30 seconds even. I told one of my friends, start with 10 seconds of just sit for 10 seconds if that's all you can do. As soon as a thought comes in, let it go. When you realize the thought comes in, let it go.
And that's why it's called a practice, right? Because I know for me in the very beginning, I started doing meditation because of my son. He had so much anxiety that he couldn't sleep at night. So I had to lay with him and have him visualize fluffy clouds and all this stuff. And I didn't know the first thing about meditation, but I kind of just learned about it as I went along.
Yeah.
And we did it together. We did it together, and then that led me to, oh, maybe I need this, So sometimes we can learn from having to help, from helping others.
Absolutely.
As well.
I learned the most from helping others.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely. And I mean, I learn a lot from my kids.
Oh, yes. I mean, they are just our teachers. I mean, I always tell my son, because he has struggled with a lot of, bullying too throughout his life and a lot of struggles. And I always tell him that, you have so much light inside of you and you are special. And this is why, you're having a hard time right now. But all these things, we can do to kind of get through our hard time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there is a big connection, and part of that might be kind of the science behind like why meditation works and why breath work works is because there's a big connection between our gut and our brain. There's the vagus nerve.
Yeah.
And so kind of, I mean, I guess quieting down that, central nervous system is part of what, has worked for me to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, even something like if someone only wanted to start off with doing the word Om, the reason why people say Om during meditations and yoga and stuff like that is the sound itself sends a vibration. When you do it correctly, it sends a vibration from the bottom of your spine. It's the only way to move the spinal column from the inside. So when you say Om, it sends a vibration all the way up your spine, all the way out, all your energy centers, your chakras, everything gets woken up because it's spine, and out the top of your head.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Vibrates it. They've shown I am pretty sure you can go onto YouTube and even see videos where they where it sends a vibration in the middle of your spine. It vibrates and massages the calm all the way up. No other way to do it, but with that one word, sound.
Oh, wow.
Because when you say it, you're supposed to say it from the belly, and then you rise it up into the throat, and then you close your mouth, and the whole head, you can feel your whole head vibrate. And then you do it like 3 times. So that's something that I don't do that every day, but I do that frequently. I have my
Yeah, that's something that I used to do a lot. I've really gotten out of practice with a lot of that. So just seeing some of your videos and seeing you talk about this, it's kind of bringing it up for me again and thinking, okay, you know what, I need to start this again because it is so helpful, you know.
simple. Like you can do a lot of these things anywhere. Like you can easily say, use a gratitude meditation anywhere. Anywhere. You just get present with whatever it is you're doing and say thank you as you do it. Then you're really living your life, right? Like if you're feeling some sort of disturbance from a thought that comes up, the next action, I often use the example of washing dishes because I had a really my very first profound experience washing my dishes.
Oh, yeah.
And I just like feeling your spoons, like when you actually pass on, you can say, I lived so deep in that I even know what my spoons felt like. You can just get really,
Yeah.
and I don't know, for me, in my experience, when I do things like that and I get really present, I end up feeling so much gratitude. It can be almost overwhelming. Like, wow, I get to be here, get to be alive. And then the whole everything that you're thinking about just shifts because gratitude just sends you there. And when we get almost, for me, it's almost impossible not to feel gratitude.
Yeah, I agree.
Which you're in that space, your whole body feels that, right? I think we're 85%. So if there was this study done by this monk where he took bottles of water and he basically what he did was he wrote like I love you on one of them, he wrote thank you on one of them, and then he wrote I hate you and I want you to die on one of them.
Oh, wow.
What he did was he meditated on each one of them. On the first bottle he meditated love and just loving thoughts to the water. And then on the second bottle, he meditated gratitude. And on the third bottle, he got all his negative thoughts and everything on the I hate you and I want you to die one. And so what they did is they took the water molecule and they put it underneath the microscope. And the one that said thank you, or the one that said I love you, looked like the most intricate, beautiful snowflake. It was gorgeous. And the one that said thank you also was a really pretty, not as detailed, but a very pretty looking snowflake, the molecule. And the one that said I hate you and I want you to die literally looked like someone took the molecule, shot it, and 2 spots cleared out. It was just,
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they,
Crazy.
what's that?
Oh, I just said that's just crazy, like how
Thought
like just vibrations can do that.
vibration can do that. And so they had these pictures up in the Boston subway where you could actually see these. I don't know that they're still there. This was a study that was done back in like 1995.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they did a couple of different, different types of religious leaders and spiritual gurus and stuff came to Washington, D.C. and they were like, we're all going to meditate for a certain amount of time and we're going to bring the crime rate down 25%. And they were like, yeah, right. Okay. But then, and they all,
Oh, you know what? I think I did hear about that.
yeah, they all, or by the end of the summer, the crime rate was down 25%. And then these guys were like, see, doesn't matter what you believe, doesn't matter what, choose whatever works for you, find something you can resonate with, and it's all you need. You don't, I mean, and it literally it went down. So
That's amazing. I mean, it's just kind of proof that, we don't have to worry about really, I mean, we have to be aware about what's going on in the world, but if we can kind of go within ourselves and, work on ourselves, like the saying, like, do you.
let it start.
But if we can do that, we affect, people around us. And I've seen that to be true with just myself, is I affect everybody. I don't have to tell people what to do, how to eat, how to, be, but if I can just show, you just have to show people and they're affected.
My mantra is always let it start with me. Can't change it. Certainly can change ourselves. And that mantra has moved me through some pretty intense situations with loved ones. Boy, do I want to go down their throat sometimes. But when they finally see, like now my dad is like, oh, well, he's like, now his doctor, they have to lower his carbohydrates. And like, this is new cardiologists. These are new studies coming out. Drop you.
Yes.
So like, he's on, right? But like, here I am. I've been doing this since 2011. I've showed up at every dinner with something different. Every holiday, something different. Everywhere I go, everything I do, I am eating something different than everybody else. And sometimes that pisses people off because I'm probably triggering them to have to look at their own stuff. And sometimes, people are not nice. But at the end of the day, I am healed. I am happy. And it's been my experience that those people end up coming around saying, oh, what are you doing? You look like everybody's going this way in age and that way in age. What's going on? It's like, oh, I don't eat sugar, They'll ask.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so true, because I know I've been dealing with this for probably 6 years. I've been trying to heal, and I've tried all these different things, and it's always like, oh, what is Rosa eating today or not eating today? Yeah. One of those things. But now it's like people are messaging me, asking me, okay, I've seen you've been on this keto journey and you're eating a lot of meats now. Like, what keeps you going? How did you give up the sugar? How did you? So first of all, they're gonna kind of make fun of you. And then they're going to watch you, and then they're going to ask you how you did it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's for me in the last 14 years of just like doing things differently than other people. I was 23. Everyone around me was drinking and I wasn't. Mm-hmm. Just those small actions over the course of years, people have reached out to me and been like, I noticed you don't drink, and so, and I'll share with them my story, and then they end up getting sober, or being an example to my kids. Like my kids, they know I don't drink. They're like, oh, mommy doesn't have those drinks. They've asked, don't you drink that? It's like, yeah, mom, make mommy feel good. It doesn't work for me. When they play cooking games and stuff, they bring me steak,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Burger patties. They know what I order, but at the same time, I don't, with my children, I do not push things on them. I tell them, this is your journey. This is my life. This is my journey. And if you ever come to a place where these things become a problem for you, mom can help you. But at this age, at 4 and 6, like, they're going to school, they're going to be they need to live their life, and they know that if there's ever a problem they'll know where to go.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think our children are just watching us and kind of wanting to emulate us, because I know with my son, I never pushed it on him, but now he's like, Mom, he's 13 though, and he realizes
Yeah.
he feels so much better when he eats meat.
Yeah.
And so he says, Mom, I just want some meat. I mean, and he's really tall. He's taller than me now, and I'm like 5'7".
Yeah.
So, but he tells everybody, he says, my mom says that I am so tall and so healthy because I eat all this meat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tell them, okay, well, we want to make sure we get some good nutrients, so eat your protein. But, you know, I can only do so much in my control. They're going to be out of the house. They're out of the house right now. So God knows what to do for snack right now.
Well, and all you can kind of do, what I've learned anyway with our children is you can kind of keep some of the bad stuff out of the house, of course.
Yes, absolutely.
And just educate them and let them know, like, where does this meat come from, and what kind of vegetables we can eat if they agree with our bodies, you know.
Yeah, we already had a whole bout of issues with my son with some fruits recently. So yeah, we had to take vegetables out, and we figured out that he has a issue to, like, you know, at school, it's always an issue when you have to call the school and be like, don't give him, because then he's sitting there and everyone else is eating something different. So, I mean, I don't want to do that to him, but I mean, that's just me. But like, we had to do it for a little while, and we pinpointed specific fruits. And also, you know, I thought was going to, you know, we go organic, we do these things, but they use organic pesticides now too. So,
well, I know, you know what, that was like when I was trying to eliminate things and I was just down to lettuce, I got organic, salad. And I noticed, and that's when I noticed this connection with the brain and my gut. I was like, oh, this is so weird. Like, I got really depressed. And I think it was from whatever was sprayed on and it's usually with salads that are like prepackaged, I've noticed.
Yep.
And I think they're like washing them with something, or it doesn't, and it's like, it doesn't matter if it's organic because
it doesn't matter if it's organic. My mother-in-law was like, she's a master gardener, so she has like the most incredible garden, apple trees and everything. So what I did was we tested stuff from the store and we tested stuff from her garden. He had no issues with what was coming out of her garden. Nothing.
Yes, that's what happened to me too. So after that, I started growing my own lettuce.
Yeah.
And then I had no issue. It was fine.
So,
and that was like a big like aha moment for me. It was like, well, what the heck are they putting in our food?
100%. And I did the same thing. And I tested, and I remember telling my mother-in-law, I'm going to do this test thing. And I had the same experience. And I remember also, she was telling me she makes all her own coffee. She does everything herself, and she doesn't use any chemicals. And so when I ate, I don't remember, this is a while ago, so I don't remember if it was whatever leafy green it was. We tested, I think it wasn't even a green, it was like a red, whatever type of lettuce, but I had no issues with hers, and I had right off the bat the one that I had, and that's when I was like, oh, I think I need to start going more meat-based, because this was right before I transitioned into carnivore. Now that I think of it, that spin did it to me. I was like, you know what, screw this.
Well, and I think that's the big kind of takeaway, is it's not the vegetable itself a lot of times. It's what's been put on it, and then the damage has been done to our gut.
Yeah.
Like there's glyphosate is a big one that has been talked about a lot lately, and I really feel like that is the big culprit with of course there's processed foods and all this stuff, but that ruins your gut so bad that it causes anxiety, depression. It causes all these mental illnesses, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, but now, I I'm so glad that you came on today and to share your story. And I will have you on again to talk more about like skin health, and I know you're an esthetician and all that stuff.
Definitely.
But where can people find you to follow you and your YouTube
So
channel?
YouTube, so my Instagram is obviously this is at Primal Kumari, so primal.kumari. And if you go to my Instagram, click link in the bio, you can go right to my YouTube channel. Tonight I will be sharing my one video that's dropping is 10 to 20 days of not being on stevia, all the things, great updates in there. I have a lot of skincare videos coming out, derma rolling for stretch marks, all kinds of stuff. All some new animal-based products that I've been using, and then rolling into the winter, I'm going to be talking about some more aggressive